everybody, I'm SJM. Welcome back to Star Technology. Just on that Greg Tech grind still, so let's just jump right back into things here. So last time we had finished up getting these chips. And hold on. There we go, now I have a cursor. The IC and the ULP IC chips. So then when we got these IC chips, I went down and we made a bunch of these new circuits. So we looked at the recipe briefly last time, but I'm now using soldering alloy just as a personal choice, but you can just use the tin if that's easier for you. And we talked about getting these diodes a little bit cheaper with the annealed copper coils. 10 bolts. Just now that we've got a cutter over there, we can make bolts a lot cheaper. So in a cutter machine, you can get, for each rod that you put in, you can get 4 tin bolts instead of 2. So you can double up on those. Now that I have a cutter, that makes those a lot cheaper. But yeah, so just made a great big batch of the LV ones, and then upgraded them. Most of them I upgraded up to the MV ones. So sitting at 29 on the MV tier, and just 8 kicking around of the basic ones for. We'll need to make a few of the lower tier things here and there, I'm sure. All right, so that allowed us to once we had the UL. What is it called? The ULPIC chips, that allowed us to make the MV energy hatch. What the MV energy hatches allow us to do is to overclock, well, not overclock, but basically upgrade our EBF, and we can now do HV recipes in it because we have 2 MV energy hatches. So the HV recipes that we are looking at is stainless steel. So in order to get stainless steel ingots, we have to put the dust into the EBF, and it has to be an HV thing, but the minimum coil is a cupronickel, so we can still do it with the cupronickel. 2 recipes here, one with nitrogen and one without. So this is where I'm starting to get a little bit stingy, and the usage, 480 EU per tick, is the same between both, so it's much more energy efficient to go with making some nitrogen and then getting the cheaper quote-unquote recipe for doing the stainless steel in there, and as a byproduct we also get it faster. Where are we getting nitrogen? So we had to build this little machine here, a basic gas collector. Basically this just gets us air. And if we push our air up into a basic centrifuge, that will split it into nitrogen gas and oxygen gas. So that's where I'm getting my nitrogen at the moment now. And then just moving it over here manually and keeping the input hatch filled up. And whenever I see that it's not working, then we come over here and process some. So as I mentioned before, we got a lapidary over here. I originally set it up, and just powered it manually, but now I've got a little bit of an automated setup going for doing it, and we'll go over that in a minute because this is not self-sustaining by any stretch of the imagination here. So definitely have to maybe set up a big battery of sieves and lapidaries and have a great big central area for these flux cells, and then run the power similarly with connectors and maybe like higher tier of the create wires. So we'll do that off camera at some point later down the line, but we may as well have a look at how we set that up. So to make a flux sieve, we needed that aforementioned stainless steel in plate form, an aluminum frame, which we can make in the assembler just with 4 aluminum rods, or there's a crafting recipe you can make 2 with 8 plus a wrench, Just you save durability on the wrench if you do it in the assembler. It's not 6 of one, half dozen of the other, really. No biggie there. And where did you go? There you are. And then the item filter, which is a little bit trickier, but it does just require to process some zinc in the bender and a steel plate to get an item filter for each of these flux sieves that we want to make. So these take RF, and they do require a inventory below them to work. So if we put that there, we can see it's now getting FE because I'm pulling it out of the flux cell that it's powering. And let's just grab a singular, well, we might not even, it's because it's a chance drop, right? I don't even have my string mesh crafted yet either. Not that that's hard. So each process that goes through gives us a chance to get the drops, right? So not every time we're going to get a diamond or an emerald or one of the other outputs from it, right? So just every well, we should get a couple, but sometimes we can get 3 and maybe even 4 at a time. So definitely have a 2x2 below there, and this one again fully upgraded so that it can burn through those things before each operation of the flux sieve. So it does take 160 ticks, which is 4 seconds. So that's quite a long time, but we can't get the upgrades for these until we're well into HV, I believe. What's the sieve from? Ex Machinus? Nope. Darn it, how did I find these before? Oh, I forgot the stupid... There we go. So the gold upgrades there cost us HV circuits. So it's going to be a while before we can even get that upgrade there. But still, that will increase. We'll be able to process 2 sand at a time, and it doesn't decrease the processing time. So it basically will just double the thing. But here, if we get up to the diamond upgrades, there we're getting a little bit more because we're processing 16 at a time at 80 ticks. So you're really getting. It's going to be a while before we can actually make these things good. We'll need EV circuits, but. Something that we can look at later if we do plan to keep on the lapidary plan. So yeah, the last thing I guess that we don't have just yet is a way to move the items from the drawer into the lapidary dynamo. And this is done with a pusher upgrade, and it goes in the utility slot here. We just have to make sure that we configure the pusher upgrade properly. So just use the minimap, and this is actually north there, so we want this configured to be north. So I just right click on there until it says north there, put it in. Now let's push that nether quartz over there, and because it's upgraded so fast, that 40k RF just went in there instantaneously. But for right now, I don't need that continuously powered, but I just have to, because these are so bad, this is why I want to set up the battery. I gotta kind of manually do this just for now until I get things separate, or until I get things more processed a little bit easier. So that was these 2 quests there, getting up into dealing with the stainless steel and processing that. I guess we can talk about this quest line down here a little bit. So I ran into the issue where I was trying to get the monazite dust by putting the crushed monazite into our EK or E, yeah, our KOF, not E anything, kinetic ore factory. That gets us all these different things over there. I just failed to realize, like, this takes MV tier, so we can get there with overclocking it with 2 LV energy hatches. But I only had like 108 or 112 something RPM going into it. And because this GUI is like, it's kind of like crossing it off, like I kind of didn't see this at all for quite a while. And was wondering why won't it process it all, but eventually figured it out and just had to make sure that it was operating at the proper speed. Vanadium doesn't go... Okay, so the vanadium does need the upgraded ore processing plant to go in. It won't go into the KOF at all. So we'll have to move to this monstrosity to be able to process the vanadium in there. So this will be the next step, but I think this is a fair ways away with tungsten steel. Tungsten carbide plates. I'm not even going to dive into that on camera. When we get there, we'll go over it at that point. But I do have this overclocked now because we've got that monstrosity separated from the power, so we have lots of excess to be able to spend over there. Just make sure that I'm keeping an eye on the power there. And the next thing to talk about, I guess, is going up this way towards our AE2 circuits. So the first step along here is getting this hot Kanthal ingot. This is done by processing Kanthal dust in the EBF. Needs to be on HV, obviously. And again, going with the faster recipe with the nitrogen. Kanthal dust just needs an MV mixer, iron, aluminum, and chromium. So all these things we had already, we just had to throw it in there and process it. I do need to get more chromium at this stage because we're going to need a lot of Kanthal to be able to get these coil blocks. So each coil block takes 8 2x Kanthal wire. So that's 8 ingots of Kanthal for each block that we want to make, plus some aluminum foil, which we're just making a bender, and some liquid copper, which is pretty easy, and that done in an MV assembler. Of course, the problem here is once we have the hot Kanthal ingot, we have to cool it down. And I really wish it said something in the quest line about it, but there's 2 ways to do it. There's a chemical bath and a vacuum freezer. The vacuum freezer is for later. We need EV circuits for it. Oh. So chemical bath it is. We just need some regular water or distilled water, either or. It's not a big deal either way. And then just throw them in there. I haven't touched any of these yet, so I'm assuming that I'm about to get burned. Yes, sir. So, either have a way to move those not manually or just take the damage. I'm glad it didn't kill me halfway across, because otherwise it might have been a little bit hard to actually get them moved over here. But now that we've got it going in the bath, they can get cooled down, and then we can take them over to the wire mill and start processing them into the into the Kanthal blocks. But we're obviously going to need 16 times 8. So what is that? 128 ingots of Kanthal to be able to get our EBF upgraded to the next tier, so that we can get the temperatures in there hot enough in order to be able to start processing this silicon. So the hot silicon has to be done. Minimum coil strength is Kanthal down here at 2273 Kelvin. So that's the step moving forward. That's our real bottleneck now for getting into AE2 properly. We just have to make these inscriber presses, which involves us going over this way first. So getting an MV autoclave. Looks fairly simple there, nothing out of the ordinary there. And then we're going to use this to make nope, it's not anywhere close, right? Why would it be anywhere close to the start? So Certus quartz dust with water, and only a 70% chance at this, at LV tier. Let's go up to MV. No, that's still only 70% chance. We could make the LV tier one, I guess. Any other ways to make these? It's got to be autoclave, otherwise it wouldn't be part of the quest line. Oh, if we use distilled water, aha, we get a 100% chance. So just have to make sure that we're using distilled water in there so that we don't get the too much loss, because I don't think I've already made some Certus quartz that's processing the crushed stuff. But what else can we do with this to get closer? Nothing really. Just ore washer so we can get a little bit extra nether quartz out of it, and then process this again in a sifter to get a chance to get those basically like straight up, 35% chance. And then this stuff we can then process back to the Certus quartz dust in the centrifuge again. So that's probably the way to do it, is with the crushed stuff, ore wash it, then sift it, and then what was it? Ore wash, sift, and then ore wash again. Oh, centrifuge, sorry. And then we'll get maybe a chance at some barite, but I don't know what that's for just yet. So that's the plan moving forward, and that pretty much cleans up the whole quest line. Obviously, I did not do the basic cutter. So if I really want the 2 star T coins, I could do that stuff. There's a couple, well, I'll definitely be going to go and get some of these better wires for moving forward with our new power plant idea. And a couple of things to clean up over there. There's the super tank and the super chest, which I never talked about because I wanted to get some excess materials before that, but I haven't even been processing steel right now, so I've kind of fallen behind on that. But basically a super chest is almost exactly like these drawers, but they come automatically upgraded, so they hold a lot more than the 2K automatically, and you can choose to have them void automatically as well, so they're super handy. I just need to be able to I've got to process a lot of this iron before we can get there into the steel, so that's something that I've fallen behind on. And then the last bits of the quest line is just, getting the actual circuits, the energy acceptor, and then we can actually set up an AE2 system if we really want to. I don't know that I'm going to, but probably, maybe not. There's also this tree greenhouse controller down here, but I don't see any point in getting that when I've turned this off for the second time already, because wood. Lots of wood. Don't need it anymore. Anyways, again, another shorter episode as the grind continues to increase. Mostly because I've been a little bit lax in setting up any real automations, but just coming across recipes like these, like the better recipes as you get higher up into Greg Tech, really does dissuade doing too much automations at the lower tiers, because you can set up a big automation for making these circuits and these circuits, but then you get these recipes like, you know, 8 or 10 hours late, like not even 8 or 10 hours, 5 or 6 hours later, and they're a lot more efficient and a lot easier to, like, they're not easier to automate, I guess. Like, most of the difficult things are still difficult, like the phenolic circuit boards and the diodes, but other than that, you know, like, still hesitant about setting up any real automations. Maybe when we get into HV, we'll see a more need to do it, but for now, I haven't. So I've been kind of doing lots of handcrafting and batch crafting to get me by. But that'll wrap up this episode of Star Technology. I hope you all enjoyed. I appreciate you checking it out, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!